شو سبب تدمير العراق وغزو العراق وقتل مليون عراقي؟ وخلاص أصدقائنا الأمريكان يجاوبونا على هذا السؤال اللي حاير، لماذا العراق؟ شو سبب له؟ بن لادن عراقي؟ ما هو عراقي. اللي ضربوا نيويورك عراقيين؟ ما هم عراقيين. اللي ضربوا البنتاغون عراقيين؟ ما هم عراقيين. فيها أسلحة دمار شامل عند العراق؟ ما عندها. وحتى لو عند العراق أسلحة دمار شامل، أو باكستان عندها قنبلة ذرية، والهند عندها قنبلة ذرية، والصين وروسيا وبريطانيا وفرنسا وأمريكا، ما كله عندهم قنابل ذرية، كله بيدمروها. كويس؟ فندمر كل الدول اللي عندها أسلحة دمار شامل. تجي قوة أجنبية تحتل دولة عربية وتشنق رئيسها واحنا نتفرج عليهم ونضحكوا. وليش ما نحقوا في شنق صدام حسين؟ كيف يصير حرب يشنق ورئيس دولة عربية عضو في الجامعة العربية؟ احنا ما نتكلموا عن سياسة صدام حسين والخلافة معاه السياسي، ممكن كلنا مختلفين سياسيين معاه ومختلفين حتى مع بعضنا نحن الآن، ما في حاجة تجمعنا أبدا إلا القاعة هذه. ليش ما يكون فيها تحقيق في مقتل صدام حسين؟ قيادة عربية بالكامل تقتل تشنق في المشانق راح نتفرج، لماذا؟ ممكن الدور جاي عليكم كلكم. اي نعم. ليش امريكا قاتلت مع صدام حسين ضد الخميني؟ كان صديقها. تشيني كان صديق لصدام حسين. رامسفيلد كان وزير دفاع الامريكا لما كان يدمروا في العراق، صديق حميم لصدام حسين، واخيرا باعوه وشنقوه. حتى انتم اصدقاء امريكا، نحن اصدقاء امريكا، بلاش نقول انتم، نحن اصدقاء امريكا كلنا قد توافق امريكا على شنقنا في يوم ما.
So this is what you would call an inconvenient truth for the pattern and the way that narcissists behave. They may shake hands behind closed doors, but they all end up like pretending to be the victim in public when the very event that they created, they're profiting from. Like I said, it's like Moderna and Pfizer. They created the disease so they could give you the vaccine, and in reality, their vaccine is potentially worse than the disease. They said that was 74% of the people who took the mRNA vaccine were dying from the vaccine, not the disease. So if you took the disease, or if you took the vaccine, you had a three-fourths chance of dying from the vaccine and a 1/4 chance of dying from the disease itself. When the cure is worse than the disease, you've got a problem. And right now the disease is the government and the way that they behave. You look at what they did to Ukraine, and it's very similar with what was done in the creation of the country of the United States. You look at what happened in Germany in World War II. What you see is a violent overlord trying to take over adjacent countries. What you don't see is the events that were maneuvered behind the scenes in covert fashion up to that point where there's what you would call political takeover and a hostile takeover through banking systems, financial transactions that had what had almost financially bankrupted Germany. And so that was a huge portion of the reason why Germany had started lashing out, was because the rest of the world was watching this happen and pretending as though it was okay for a foreign country to invade somebody and do a hostile takeover of their political system and their financial system. And so if you look at Ukraine, look at what they did. They destroyed the food production, the fields. They made all of the people, the vulnerable women and vulnerable children, basically move across the world into pockets of places where they don't have stability. And what happens when a vulnerable person doesn't have financial stability and is all alone? They end up being victimized in the worst ways. So and those are a lot of beautiful country girls that left Ukraine. And so after the U.S. governments of the world used like Burisma and other corporations to launder their criminal money through in Ukraine, they proceeded to kill a lot of the people there because they wanted to destroy the country and destroy the evidence. In turn, they destroyed a large portion of the food production in Europe. There's like 70% of the sunflower oil in Europe comes from Ukraine. And that wasn't enough to create a war, kill a bunch of people, destroy the forest, destroy the farms. and try to launder money through the government there. And then when the government isn't done enough, one of the things that they try to do in the Ukrainian parliament is open up a porno industry to pay for the war, which is disgusting. It's also a smoking gun as far as the proof of their poor behavior and the way that they treat women, and the women that probably ended up in other countries outside of Ukraine that are having to sell their bodies for to make ends meet, to make money. Which, you know, this is all, it's all played out. You can see what these assholes are doing just from the repeated behavior. And after doing all that to the Ukrainian people, that wasn't enough money for the assholes in charge. So what did Donald Trump try to do? He tried to get mineral rights. He wanted to be able to dig the dirt out of the fucking ground for rare earth metals. So that's similar to Gaza, where they wanted to kill all the people there and turn it into a fucking Six Flags resort. I mean, the Riviera. Anyways, you've seen the repeated process and the way that they've done all kinds of things, and you can look at the way that Saddam Hussein was killed, the way that Osama bin Ladin was killed. Osama bin Ladin, it took him years to find him. He's 6.5 feet tall without a turban. He stands out like a sore thumb in the Middle East. We had spy satellites could see him from outer space back then. So when I tell you that it was hard for them to find him, obviously the government wasn't using its equipment or wasn't looking hard enough to find the guy until it was a convenient time to go throw him into the ocean. So we never knew whether the guy died or not either, right? The SEALs went in there, they grabbed him, allegedly, they killed him, and then they were to bring the body back home, and he ended up getting dumped into the middle of the ocean. So never to be seen again by anyone, so anyone who was part of it could lie whether it had happened or not. So, and this Muammar Ghadaffi, he also was demonized, and if you look at what he was saying, there's probably some truth in the matter that, you know, a lot of the situations that occur have nothing to do with the people that they blame. They're just looking for a scapegoat, someone else to blame for their bullshit. Kind of like how Jewish bankers bought the World Trade Centers a couple months before the planes hit. Right before 9/11, there's Jewish bankers that bought those Twin Towers and tripled the insurance money payout for them. And then airplanes are able to get through our airspace after getting hijacked and go right into Twin Towers in New York City. Anyways, there's a crazy person in New York City. If you look at she's a nightmare. If you look at what happened in the P. Diddy controversial court hearing, he only got 4 fucking years. I don't know what the fuck that's about. That's stupid. He had 3 mansions, one in Miami, one in New York, and one in Los Angeles. The ones in Miami and New York got raided. The ones in Miami and Los Angeles got raided. The mansion that P. Diddy had in New York never got raided, and that's because the mayor, the district attorney, the actual attorney of the state, attorney general of the state, I guess you would call it, and the chief of police were all black. They were all bought and paid for by this spiritual assassin. That's what she calls herself. She calls herself a spiritual assassin. I also have reason to believe, because of who she works with, that the Samsung heiress was probably assassinated by her. The Samsung heiress allegedly unalived herself in her penthouse in New York City, and that just doesn't make sense to me. And from personal experience, this woman has a tendency of targeting what you would call high society affluent people for a large payout and making them disappear or go away. That's a good way to explain the circumstances and the way that she operates. But yeah, you can see in her behavior when P. Diddy's mansion in New York didn't get arrested, and the whole entire infrastructure to control the prosecution, the investigation, and the legislative part, when it comes to the mayor, the district attorney, and the chief of police, were all installed as black people, allowing P. Diddy to misbehave as a major portion of it. And that's one of the reasons why all this crap is coming out, because the pieces of the puzzle, the narcissists, are getting torn apart, shredded, and essentially thrown away with the intention of exposing the people behind the scenes who are doing really nasty stuff. Like, you know, taking highly one percenters children and murdering them for profit. That's my assumption. That's my belief from everything I've seen and experienced in my own life, along with the way that you know, this woman's linked to the K-pop industry. It's obvious that she was one of the people who participated in killing the Samsung heiress. And she swarms people. She'll swarm you and attack you with psychological bullshit. The funniest thing is right now about the situation, none of what I explained right now in the past is funny. But the funniest thing about what I'm explaining right now is that she's getting caught. She's getting caught. People are waking up to her bullshit and the way that she does hostile takeovers of countries and other locations through her manipulative bullshit. It's demonic witchcraft is what it is. Anyways, narcissists, they don't learn. They just continue to do the same stupid shit they do over and over again. And one of the things that she had bragged about is that she was a spiritual assassin, which tells me precisely what she does. She kills people without laying a finger on them. But once you're exposed for doing that, you don't get away with it anymore. As a matter of fact, people start digging into your personal life, your connections, everything you've been doing over the last couple decades, and you become exposed for your behavior. And so that's where it gets interesting, because you know the people that this crazy spiritual assassin couldn't put into the ground are now basically walking evidence of her past behavior. So that's really the joke of it. Like I said, narcissists, they continue to do the same shit over and over again. They don't learn from their fucking mistakes. So I like the people that are sitting there that are at the same level as me or higher handle this situation, because what she's done is like probably a bunch of different murders, a bunch of different crimes, things that somebody who is lawless would do. It's pretty obvious to me that this person has no scruples about going as low as they possibly can to get whatever they want to get done. Lying, cheating, stealing, killing, all that other crap that nobody even wants to think about. Anyways, I think it's about time for this to all wrap up, because there's more than enough evidence to prove her shenanigans, her stupid behavior, and the way that she really doesn't give a fuck about anyone else except for herself and her wallet. Let's flip the script on this crazy female and make one more domino fall down from Humpty Dumpty.